Ever had a first time meeting you wish you could have done over, like the lady in the next clip?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Really?
Whew.
You guys meet? Greg, Janice?
We sure did.
That was stupid.
Great.
This is Smart, a beeper service for just $1.99 a month. From who else? Smart Beep. Call 1-800-BEEP-199 for other smart stuff, like directions.
We've got chemistry here. You feel it?
I felt it.
All right, Janice.
Now, hopefully, you've been fortunate enough to have no first impressions like the one seen in the short commercial clip. However, if by chance you have, then I have good news. You can still redeem yourself and save face through Goffman's impression analysis. As the saying goes, you only get one chance to make a first impression. According to Goffman, when an individual enters the presence of others, they seek to acquire information about this person. Information about the individual helps to define the situation, enabling others to know what is expected from them and what they may expect. A few years back, I had an opportunity to sit down with an executive at the bank to further learn about his line of business. The conversation flowed well. I asked detailed questions, and they seemed to be impressed with my vast knowledge on their line of business. However, it wasn't until I met with a mutual executive that I found out that the person's thought on me, it wasn't what I may have hoped for or believed. This person had critiqued my appearance aesthetically. Despite my dress attire being appropriate, they felt my makeup and use of lashes to be too bold. Here's where Goffman's impression management comes into play. Moreover, many crucial facts lie beyond the time and place of interaction or lie concealed within it. Consequently, the true or real attitudes, beliefs, and emotions of the individual can be ascertained only indirectly. The expressiveness of the individual, and therefore his or her capacity to give impressions, appears to involve two radically different kinds of sign activity. According to Goffman, the expression that the individual gives and the expression that is given off. Ironically, people are sometimes able to manage their personas long after the first interaction. Have you ever heard of someone mentioning that within the first 60 or 90 days of getting to know someone, you often are only meeting the representative? This simply implies that during the initial stages of interaction, a person typically conceals bits and pieces of themselves that usually isn't revealed until over a period of time. One part of the communication is relatively easy for individuals to manipulate at will, the verbal communication, and the other part is more unconscious and difficult to control, the nonverbal communication. The audience checks upon the validity of what is said in words and what is expressed by other means. According to Goffman, framing is a way to explain the background parties need to interpret the ongoing conversation. We tend to perceive events in terms of primary frameworks, and the type of framework we employ provides a way of describing the event to which it was applied. If I look at the interaction with the executive, I had the opportunity to frame the outcome of our interaction in either a negative or positive manner. Despite some questionable feedback on my appearance, I realized that this person represented a more modest and conservative time at the bank. Therefore, anything outside of the traditional appearance for women would have seemed extreme. Expectations facilitate our comprehension and interpretation of objects and events, while also influencing our perceptions. Frames are expressed in discourse and subject to collective construction. Taken all together, the primary frameworks of a particular social group constitute a central element of its culture. Although I was disappointed in the feedback, I could not allow another person's narrative to control my identity. Footing is a concept which concerns participants' stance or posture in interaction. In Goffman's own words, participants' alignment or set or stance or posture or projected self is somehow at issue. This implies that footing includes both verbal and nonverbal signals representing participants' attitudes towards the issue of communication. Despite the executive I met with never verbalizing his thoughts on my appearance personally to me, he felt strongly enough to verbalize them to another executive. He was careful to ensure his footing and stance remained neutral throughout our interaction. Consequently, it was just as important that my footing never altered either after finding out this information. I had to make a strategic choice and not allow the interaction to define how I saw him moving forward. Face is the public self-image that individuals want to claim for themselves and a tool to describe social relations. Face is something that is emotionally invested and that can be lost, maintained, or enhanced and must be constantly attended to in an interaction. Although we cannot control the impressions that others perceive of us, we can control certain verbal and nonverbal cues that we put out. We must be cognitive that we dictate the narrative that is within our reach. Just like corporations have to manage the impressions that they give to the public, we have to utilize that same strategy by ensuring we are giving others the best possible version of ourselves. Everyone may not like our product or who we are, but we cannot allow those narratives to undermine or devalue us. There is significance in difference and an appreciation in being strategic with how we communicate those variables. In conclusion, understand that first impressions matter, but Goffman's impression analysis shows us how to be strategic communicators, whether we are entangled in a positive or negative event. What happens in us always supersedes what happens to us.